So I'm really happy to be here today because I have a topic which I enjoy very, very much. This topic is the gifts I bring. And when I say the gifts I bring, what I'm talking about is the collective I, the collective you, the collective we. The I is you as well as me. I speak in the first person so you can take it as your own. So when I say the gifts I bring, what I want you to say back is I bring gifts. How about that? You ready? The gifts I bring.
I bring gifts.
Yes, you do. You bring gifts whether you know it or not. You have gifts. You give them away freely. You are a gift. And so some people don't quite resonate with that. Some people find that it is difficult for them to put their finger on what it is that they are bringing as their gifts. And the reason why I say that is because I have asked people all this week out there somewhere. I get a chance to talk to people and I say, what are the gifts you bring? And the people look at me and they step back a little bit and their eyes cross a little bit and they're confused. What do you mean? What are the gifts you bring? What do you bring to whatever situation you encounter? What do you bring? Yeah, you bring you, first of all. Thank you very much, Chuck. So the gifts that you bring may not be absolutely apparent until we have a nice little conversation around it. Because I can look at you and I can say, look, let's talk about the gifts you bring. They may not be completely apparent, but what do you like to do? What do you find that you're passionate about? Could it be working with kids in the dramatic field? I attended a beautiful party last night for some people that were being honored. And those people bring gifts in ways that perhaps they didn't even recognize they were being effectively utilized. And those people that brought gifts were honored last night. And so Paul and Karen, our wonderful Paul and Karen Larson, were honored at a beautiful dinner last night over in Holmes Hall. And the reasons why they were honored was because they brought together a community of people. They were responsible for bringing together a community of people that were giving their talents away in areas that they were unable to give them away before. They were expressing themselves in ways that they didn't even know they could express themselves dramatically on the stage. As characters, as people who made sets, as people who brought other wonderful things to bear. And so they all stood up and applauded for both Paul and Karen for the gifts that they brought to that community. And we can applaud today for the gifts that they bring to us. So thank you, Paul. And thank you, Karen, because I know Karen's going to be listening to this too, because she does listen to it, doesn't she? All right. Excellent. All right, Karen, we love you. And so gifts, the gifts we bring, sometimes we don't even know we're bringing them. You know, I was watching Cesar Milan yesterday. You guys, isn't he wonderful? He's an awesome guy. He's the dog whisperer. An incredible person. I mean, he relates to dogs so well. He knows them. He knows the psychology of the pack. But what he knows more than anything is how to work with the human beings who are the ones holding the leash. And finds that it's not the dog, it's the person. And so when it looks like he's working with the dog, what he's really doing is working with the person. And it was so funny. I had to laugh because it's so amazingly science of mindy when watching him. He was working with this dog named Cujo. Did you see that? Some of you might have seen him working with this dog named Cujo. And here's the interesting part about working with a dog named Cujo. I mean, Cujo was not a pleasant dog when Cesar got a hold of him. Not at all. He was acting his name. He was acting like his namesake. And he was aware enough Cesar was aware enough to recognize that Stephen King wrote this unbelievably scary novel about the baddest dog on the face of the earth named Cujo, and that people were going to react to that name when they heard it. And so when people heard that the dog's name was Cujo, they started reacting to that immediately, which set the dog off into a space where it was psychologically unstable, just like the real Cujo. You know, that dog was reacting to the way people were treating it. And so the first thing he says is, we're going to name you Joe. We're changing your name. We're going to name you Joe. And so instead of Cujo, the dog became Joe. And then they playfully became JoJo. And this is a 180-pound, lab mix, they're just crazy, crazy big and crazy mean. I've been watching that show for a long time, and I've never seen him get bit. But he got bit by this dog. This dog actually bit him. It didn't scare him one bit, did not scare him one bit, because he knew that he was going to take this dog and put it in a place of healing. He was going to take this dog and put it into his own arena of absolutely marvelous, loving, compassionate dogs, where this dog could learn some new skills, learn a new way of being, because there was no deep evil at the seat of his soul. There was nothing in there that couldn't be fixed with a little dose of consciousness, right? I mean, it's just like us. We come into a place like this where we recognize a consciousness that's healing, a love and a compassion that we've always longed for, and we get it. We receive it. We start to feel it. We start to know it. It makes a difference in our lives who we hang out with. It makes a difference in our lives what we believe. So if we look at life like it's Cujo, we got ourselves a problem. And there's some laughing out there, but I'll tell you what, a lot of us look at life as if it's Cujo. And I'll tell you, we think that life is really hard right now. People, when I ask that question, what gifts do you bring? Well, I don't know. I don't really bring any gifts because, things are falling apart. The world is falling apart. There's war over here. There's war over there. I just don't know what to do about that kind of stuff. I want to be able to bring peace, but I don't think I can. Everything looks broken. And so the belief system becomes the Cujo belief system about life, right? Life is broken. The United States is broken. The world is broken. But you know what? Here's the truth. We live in a magnificent world. It is wonderful. It is creative. It is beautiful. It's compassionate. It is a world of wonder. It is a world that it is. It changes every moment in ways that are just absolutely beautiful. And we can do what we learn to do in these rooms, and that's kind of roll with it, move down the stream without swimming upstream against the current. We can roll with it and find the beauty that's inherent in that life, in that change, in that wonderful evolution. Life is evolving around us. There is something about life today that is so different than it used to be, and we all know that. We all see it. We all feel it. We know the complexity of life as we move forward. And some of our youngsters, in this room don't quite get what many of us are feeling about this, but there's a complexity of life that keeps on moving and moving and moving and moving. It doesn't slow down. It gets a little bit harder each time. Each time a new Windows comes out, I mean, here's the real deal. The real deal is that our knowledge base is doubling in less than 18 months. Every 18 months, the knowledge base doubles. And that includes the technology. There's this new thing. You got to know about this. You got to add this app. You got to be able to do this thing and that thing. And it just gets really tough. It gets very complicated, and the size of the information system is unfathomable. Everything known to man is right there on the internet. Even the things that aren't known to man are on the internet. It's crazy. So we have all of this stuff going on, and there's this sea of subjectivity where all this stuff is available to us, and our lives become richer and greater and more complicated. And sometimes we say, none of that. I don't want any more of that. I don't want any more of that. I can't take any more of this. I can't take any more of that. Thinking that we have to learn it at a core level and be able to implement it into our lives. When the truth of the matter really is that it's a gift out there. We can accept it at any level we want. We can have it at any level we want to have it. We don't have to learn how to tweet. Don't worry if you don't know how to tweet. It's okay. Yeah, I just heard that. Whew, that's really good news. Because I don't know how to tweet, let me tell you. Don't worry if you don't use email. It's okay. It's all right. Your world is going to be all right. Sure. Yes. But know this, that as this life evolves and moves so beautifully into our next greatest yet to be, that there are gifts in that movement. There are gifts available to us. You don't have to take them all. Taking them all is really kind of confusing. If you decide that you want everything that there is to be given, then you're going to have a really messy house. And when I say house, what I mean is mind, consciousness. It's going to be real messy because we are finite individuals. Outside of us here is a universe that we are absolutely immersed in, and that universe is God. That universe is our source, our creative, infinite source. And we are living and breathing and having our being within that infinite source. There is absolutely no doubt about that, but we are finite beings. We're finite beings. We can't absorb everything that God has to offer us, but we can absorb a lot. We can. Some of us can absorb the idea of infinite even better than others. I love the idea of the infinite. It is a gift to us to even think in those terms, that anything and everything that could possibly happen will. The infinite is what this source, this creative energy called God truly is, the infinite. And you see the infinite expressing in an amazing array of ways around you. Some of them you call good, some of them you call bad. We talked about that last week. But that infinite array of expression is truly a gift to each of us. My God, life is not boring, is it? Life is absolutely not boring. There were times in my life when I said, life sometimes sucks, but it is exciting. And that's before I had a handle on the kinds of gifts that I was truly giving myself. Because I was bringing gifts that did not look like gifts to my life. Bring in the clowns, Bill, right? Bring in the clowns. I was bringing some stuff that was completely destructive to myself and my family. It looked to me like moving upward and evolving as a professional in a career that was absolutely dynamic and fun. But what it looked like to others around me was, you are not fit to be a human being. Seriously. The way you are acting, the time spent away from the family, the things that you made important in your life. All of those things that I thought were around my professional evolvement were destroying the things that were important to other people. I was not bringing gifts in that department, nor was I bringing gifts to myself. So I thought. But the truth of this was that these gifts, and I'll put that in quotations, did not make themselves apparent to me until I was able to see them in perspective. Because, every single time it got really dark, a light was apparent. There's a little light in the darkness. I had to follow that little light. And every time it got really dark, I thought, this is the end. Till that little light appeared. Follow that little light. Move forward. Put one foot in front of the other. Take another step. Do what you know how to do. And lo and behold, things got better. The things that looked like darkness started to look like real light. The phoenix that had burned to the ground and was lying there in ashes, which I thought was me, rose once again. And that's the beauty of that story, isn't it? I mean, that's the beauty. That phoenix is us. It's not just a bird that burned down and came out. It's us. It's us every single time that darkness arrives. And that darkness brings with it some gifts. And that gift that we get from it is evolvement. That gift that we get from it is amazing. We would never have been set on that path without that seeming darkness. All those bad things that happen to us are truly gifts. And the gifts I bring to myself are absolutely apparent today. You know, I talk about this often because it is the basis of the darkness, the distinct darkness that I felt in my life, but that was alcoholism. And some time ago, I was in over 17 years ago, I was in incredible darkness. And it didn't seem that there was any way out because I'd burned down my entire professional and personal life. It was lying in ashes around me, and I was the next to go. And I thought, what a horrible, horrible life. Just get it over with. This is terrible, just terrible. I never expected to be able to see any light. And I recognize today that I have some gifts that have arrived as a result of that. One of them is you. Each and every one of you. I can guarantee you that if none of that had happened, I would not be here today. I would not be in this space today if none of that had happened. It turns out that really, really bad stuff, that stuff that I thought was the most horrible thing that could happen to me, was the best thing that could have happened to me. It was the gift in my life. It brought about the things that I now know to be my purpose. Because really, those gifts, once you recognize them, they demonstrate your purpose. They allow you to recognize what your purpose is in life. If I asked you, what is your purpose in life? You might say, I don't know. I'm not absolutely certain what I think my purpose in life is just to get through today, for crying out loud, you know. I got to make my bills, got to pay my car payment, make sure that my mortgage is paid, you know. The kids are taken care of. Gosh, got to get them off to school. Oh, man. It all seems so now, you know, right now. My purpose is to do the next thing in front of me. Well, you know, sometimes that's the best we can do. But in developing a purpose in life, sometimes it's a really good idea to take a look at what it is that we love to do, what it is that we do well. You know, what are our talents? You take a look at your talents as those things that are gifts to the world. Mickey and Bill and Jeff bring absolutely marvelous talents in the realm of music. Now, they have other talents too. I mean, I know them well. They have other talents that they bring as well. But they have found those things to be their natural talents that they can give as gifts to the rest of the world. Now, there are other people in here too that have those kinds of talents in the writing department, even in the music department. Oh, well, we have Mary Barlow. Where's Mary? There's Mary right there. If you don't notice this, by the way, you will notice this, but she is wearing the most amazing red velvet outfit. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So she plays an instrument in a symphony. Can you believe that? You play a violin in Little Bridges Auditorium with a magnificent company that's going to be playing this November 30th, right? At 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you want a seat, you'll be there at 3. She has a flyer for that too. It's out at Little Bridges Auditorium over there at the Claremont colleges. And she sits in a seat and plays a violin. Just like birds can fly and sing. I mean, it is absolutely amazing. And it's so natural for her. It seems so natural, you know? And so she brings those gifts as well. Each and every one of you has talents. You exude talent. Take a look at your talents if you want to if you want to see some purpose in your life. Take a look at your talents. What do you like to do? What do you really, really like to do? What gifts can you bring to not only the world, but to yourself? You see, because Ernest Holmes in our teaching has some really distinct ideas around what it is we should be giving. And he says, I love this. In the book, Words That Heal Today, I think it's out there. I think I saw it out there at the bookstore. On page 80, he says, when we refuse to use our gifts, they shrivel up. You know, you just hear that all the time. You know, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? Yeah, you're going to use it or lose it. That's the way it goes. And Ernest Holmes said it in a much better way. When we refuse to use our gifts, they shrivel up. The divine flow is short-circuited. The one who gives for joy of giving will receive back even more joy than he gave out. Ever as the volume increases, the circle will increase. There can be no point of saturation in that which is infinite, which means that you cannot give more of your gifts than we can handle. And you will not receive less from your gifts than you have given. Does that make sense to you? Because we know there's a cause and effect. We know that there's a flow. Ernest Holmes says on page 38 of the textbook, as we give full expression to life, the law of cause and effect sets forth. For in the giving of ourselves, so life returns to us in pouring forth its gifts through various channels, sometimes unknown. What that means is that these things come back to us. The gifts we give come back to us in gifts given to us, in ways that we cannot fathom, in ways that we might not know. You had no idea when you came to church today that you might meet somebody here that you haven't met before. You had no idea that you could look into their eyes and say, I see me in you. You had no idea that you were going to hear this song from Bill this morning that would absolutely tear you apart. Because when I hear that magnificent, deep, resonant voice, it puts me in a place where I get really, really introspective. I don't tell you that, Bill, but it's true. You know, we talked about, the style of singing and voice that we like this morning when you and I sat down and talked about the music today. And, in that discussion, I told you that a voice like yours just brings me to that space. And I absolutely love it. You have a gift, and you have brought it today, my friend. And so these talents that we have, we should not be afraid to give. Now, I have recognized in myself some interesting talents that I could not have recognized before. And let me give this to you in a way that I'm hoping you can understand. Because the way I look at life is, there is truth in everything. I just need to find it. Sometimes it looks ugly, and I'll give you an example. So there is this, I used to practice law in the city of Upland. I practiced law with the mayor of Upland for a while. And practicing law in the city of Upland allowed me to get to know some of the city government in the city of Upland. And I know that very intelligent people operate at a very high level there. But right at the present moment, it just doesn't seem like it. Funny thing, I was watching national news. National, not just local news, national news. And there is a move afoot by some enforcers of the law, code enforcement and city attorney staff, as well as the district attorney's office, to prosecute and jail a man who refuses to water his lawn. Now people are going, oh yeah, no, I got that, right? Now the weird thing about that is that the water department that sells water to the city says, you know what, we want you to save water, and we'll even give you $2 a square foot if you take up your lawn. They do. They'll give you $2 a square foot if you remove the turf so that it doesn't have to be watered, because don't you know we're in a water crisis? And so on the one hand, you have individuals who are in charge of the water who know most about what kind of a problem we have with it, saying, let's conserve. And on the other hand, we have a group of people who are saying, your lawn's dead, you got to go to jail, man. Because that's what the law says. The law says, you got to take care of your front yard. And we've determined that taking care of your front yard is making sure every blade of grass grows well. We don't care about how much water you have to use. And so it's kind of become this weird argument around some stuff. that in one sense is absolutely crazy, and in another sense makes all the sense in the world. And so the gift that I bring to situations like this is to say, look, we understand that there's an absolute need. We understand that there's a need to save water and to bring the resources to each and every person who may be, affected by this water shortage. We understand that there is a need to be cautious around this, but we also understand the rule of law. See, we can't have everybody just willy-nilly saying we're not going to follow this law and we're not going to follow this law and I don't like it and I don't like this and I don't like that. And so there is a balance there. And if you're standing typically on the side of the people that say this is a crazy city, he shouldn't be prosecuted for not watering his lawn, you're going to think that everybody over there in City Hall is nuts. And you're never going to follow any of their directives, and you're going to take this thing so far that it is absolutely out into left field. That's what we do, right? I mean, when we look at a group of people that seem to be unreasonable in one area, we say, I'm not following your laws in others. And then there's a group of people that say, but you got to follow the law in every circumstance. I know that because I was in the military and I was a police officer and I did this and I did that, and you have to follow laws because if you don't, there's complete and total anarchy. Well, is there something in that scenario that can be utilized for the benefit of all? Is there an understanding there that we can come to that'll be beneficial for everyone? Absolutely. Absolutely. And so my gift has always been to say, I understand you. I understand where you're coming from. I recognize exactly where you've been, where you are in an evolved state. I recognize that. I honor that. I can see you too. I see you. I see you over on this side. I know exactly where you are. You want to help the disenfranchised. You want to make sure that everybody has the same amount as other people. I recognize that. And there's good in that, and there's good in that. But both sides are calling each other bad. Now, that's crazy. Now, here's the craziness about that. The craziness is that both sides are living in the problem. They live in the problem when they turn and point the finger at other people. And the only way to solve a problem is to raise your consciousness above the problem. Because if you live in the problem and recognize only the problem, you will never rise above it. Conflict will always exist. I can bring that message today. I can see things I never saw before. And I can bring that message in every single arena. I can say, I know, I completely understand. I know you want to honor the traditions of a religious idea, and I do too. And I know over here that what you'd like to do is move forward into the next phase of how this science of mind is evolving. I love that too. And so I might be a traditionalist, and I might be a radical. Because there's some truth in that, and there's some truth in that. One of the things that I plan to do in my lifetime is to bring a newness, an evolving truth to the science of mind so that we can apply it in every single situation so that we don't have to think that this is old stuff, because it becomes new every moment of every day. Because the new stuff that arrives in this world is as a result of principles that are unchanging. They're immutable. They are always, always, always operating. And to think that they only operate in that old way is nuts. Every time they operate in a new way because you see a new demonstration. A new and wonderful demonstration for you and for me. Those are gifts. And so, what a neat thing to be able to honor where we came from and look so forward to where we're going. Because sometimes there's a camp that says, we got to stay here. I don't want to go there. And a camp that says, we can't stay here. You got to go there. Where are we if we don't honor where we came from and look toward an evolving future where things can be and will be greater and greater and greater, and the gifts more apparent to each of us. And so when I say the gifts I bring, I want you to say, I bring gifts, and I want you to do it loudly. The gifts I bring.
I bring gifts.
Yes, you do. You bring a creative consciousness that's always available. You bring the gifts of God because you are God in action right here and right now. God operating in, around, and through you. It can be no other way. So bring the gifts of God and recognize them. I love this. And so I am so thankful for this ever-evolving universe. I'm so thankful that I know how to put one foot in front of the other, to walk into it and through it, and to see what's at the other end. And so it is.